Exactly 1 month after dispatching Turkey 3-0 in the opening match of Euro 2020, Italy will take the pitch for the chance to raise the trophy, but it won't be nearly as simple as it was on that night in Rome because their English opponents, who haven't played in a major cup final in over 60 years, will prove to be their toughest task yet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. My name is Will Fowler. Hope you're all doing so well on this fine Saturday or Sunday, whenever you're watching this video, or after that, whenever you're watching this video. Hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. It is so nice to see you back here. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see in the next few minutes, well, first of all, welcome. Congratulations, you're in the right place. Make yourself comfortable, kick your feet up, maybe crack open a cold one, but also just consider hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and maybe, if you're feeling very generous, clicking that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload ever again. So it is here at last, the final of Euro 2020, featuring two nations who are in real desperate need of some sort of international silverware. First, you've got Italy, the Azzurri, who have won over so many neutral fans at this tournament just with their passion and their style and their flair and the way they play, but they haven't won any major silverware since the 2006 World Cup. And on the other side, you've got England, who year after year, competition after competition, seem to fall victim to their own lofty expectations, but it seems this year they may finally have a squad capable of meeting them. It's Italy who've been the artists of this summer's Euros, who've done everything so elegantly with their own Italian flair added to it, versus England, who've been the pragmatists, the structured, the rigid, but they haven't put a foot wrong. And that's why I'm crossing my fingers that this final will be absolutely sensational. And in today's video, we're going to break it down from every single angle. We'll take a look at how they play, their styles. We'll take a look at some key players. We'll take a look at some key matchups. But before anything, first and foremost, let's take a look at how both of these nations got to this point. We'll start with Italy, and I think what makes Italy so fascinating, the fact that they're sitting here in this final, is that, people may not remember because it feels so long ago and the complexion on this Italian side has changed so drastically, but this was not a side that many people expected to be here. This was a side that a lot of people looked at as a potential second-tier favorite, with the likes of the Netherlands and Spain and maybe Croatia on the same playing field as Italy. They opened with 8-1 odds. Marco Verratti was injured. Federico Chiesa was not fully fit, so there were some question marks surrounding this side. And the question marks and the doubts that surrounded this Italy team were largely banished after match day 1, when they just stomped on Turkey 3-0, because Turkey were another nation that people were very, very high on as a nation that could be a bit of a dark horse, be a bit of a sleeper, and Italy just thoroughly dominated them over 90 minutes. That result, that 3-0 win over Turkey, I think did two things. The first thing it did was it completely derailed Turkey's tournament. They never seemed comfortable after that result against Italy. And B, it announced Italy to the continent that we are still Italy. We are still the Azzurri. We are still a nation that needs to be taken seriously, because those the three big question marks, Marco Verratti's health, Federico Chiesa's replacement, and the defense, the age of the defense, all three were immediately thrown away. But Manuel Locatelli filled in perfectly for Marco Verratti. We saw Domenico Berardi fill in for Federico Chiesa. He was fantastic as well. And the defense had no issues at all. And they didn't stop there. Italy continued to just steamroll through this Group A, which included, of course, Italy and Turkey, but also Wales and Switzerland, both of which qualified eventually for the round of 16. Italy, one of only 3 nations to finish the group stage with all 9 points, along with the Netherlands and Belgium. They didn't concede a single goal across any of those 3 matches. They were pretty clearly the best team in the group stage, and if they hadn't been announced to the entire rest of the field on match day 1, by the time the round of 16 rolled around, everybody knew that Italy was a nation that could very, very seriously make a run. And then they were pushed to the brink by Austria in a really fascinating round of 16 tie, because that's how this goddamn sport works, is the best teams will always have trouble against some of those sleeper nations. And actually, Italy were a bit lucky to not go behind in regulation because Marco Verratti had a goal that was ruled out due to an offsides call. Italy scored twice in extra time in that match against Austria, ended up winning that match 2-1, advancing to the quarterfinal where they met up with the FIFA number 1 Belgium. And this was the result. This was the match, I think, that really got everybody on board with Italy as a side that could actually go and win the damn thing. I think a lot of people were questioning Italy's the strength of their path so far. Belgium were by far the toughest nation that they were going to have come up against to that point. And they passed the test with flying colors. They went ahead 2-0. They ended up winning the match 2-1. Belgium got a penalty back towards the end of the first half. We saw Nicolo Barella score a tidy finish to open the scoring. Lorenzo Insigne scored a fantastic goal on his right foot. We saw a medical miracle when Ciro Immobile went down in the box with what seemed to be a really, really painful foot injury, only to be revived just seconds after Barella scored and opened the scoring. So a thorough performance by Italy to knock off another favorite in this competition. And then we saw the semifinal, which came against Luis Enrique's Spain, which was a fantastic match, a really intriguing match as well, just tactically, the back and forth. And this match, Italy won on penalties. It ended 1-1. Italy went through on penalties. It proved one very important thing to me about this Italian side, which is that they can still find a way to get a result when they don't get to play the way they really want to play. This is an Italian side, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but this is an Italian side that like to have the ball. They like to play the ball up the pitch quickly. And Spain had 65-70% of possession in this match. Italy were forced to sit deep, try and hit on the counter, which to their credit, they're very good at doing that as well. But that's not the way they want to play. They want to play in a more dominant, kind of on the front foot approach. They didn't get to do that against Spain, but they still were able to find a way to get the result, which was massively important for me when looking at Italy as a side that could knock off England in the Euro 2020 final. Italy weathered the storm, found the way to advance. They scored the opener and then conceded in the second half. They were able to bounce back from that, and then ultimately, I'm sure you've seen the video of Giorgio Chiellini. I don't know what he was doing to Jordi Alba. Some people are saying that it's because he loves the game. Some people are saying that he was trying to get under Jordi Alba's skin. Some people are saying that just his confidence was way too high. I don't care what it is. I think it's absolutely hysterical. You can't do that before a penalty shootout and then lose it. So good on Italy to back up what Chiellini was doing. But regardless, Italy find a way to win in circumstances where they are not playing the tactics that they would like to play, which is hugely important. As for England, they opened with 5-1 odds to win the tournament, which was the second favorite right behind France. This was a side that a lot of people, and it's the same story every major competition with England, but this was a side that a lot of people were expecting to make a deep run, and it seemed like this tournament, it might have been justified because they had some of the most informed players in the world. Harry Kane was fresh off of a Premier League season in which he led the goals and assist charts. John Stones was one of the most informed center backs on the planet when this tournament began. Luke Shaw, a Premier League team of the season left back. Mason Mount had just won the Champions League with Chelsea. But there was a question mark in this side, and that was Harry Maguire's fitness. The other center back alongside John Stones was not ready for match day 1. Didn't really get in the way, to be totally fair. Tyrone Mings plugged in that gap perfectly fine. We saw England open their tournament with a comfortable but not convincing 1-0 win over Croatia in that World Cup semifinal rematch. Then in what was maybe the most, was it the most highly anticipated match of the group stage, or was it just the English media gassing it up to no end? We saw England draw 0-0 with Scotland. Regardless of the hype surrounding it, it's a match they should have taken more from, and then they beat the Czech Republic 1-0 on match day 3 to ensure that they went through as group winners of Group D on 7 points. And when we talk about this England side, even though they're here in the final, we need to acknowledge they were not overly convincing in the group stage. Of course, the defense didn't concede. The defense was by far the strongest point of this England side. It still is. But they only scored twice in 3 games. They were both scored by Raheem Sterling. And the biggest question that everybody was asking about this England side is, where is Harry Kane? One of the best strikers on the planet has yet to score a goal, was a pedestrian in England's first 2 matches. He was a little bit better against the Czech Republic, but Harry Kane was not as involved as he should have been, And that gave a lot of people concerns with this England side, especially entering a really, really tough round of 16 tie against Germany. It was, without a doubt, the most anticipated tie of the round, and England put in a shift. I mean, what a performance the Three Lions posted against Germany to A, to get their revenge for some result in the past, but B, to silence the doubters, to silence all those who looked at that match and said, this is typical England. To have all this hype, to have all this attention, to have all this talent, and then to lose against the first real opposition they play in a knockout format. England were a little bit shaky, it should be said, in the first 15 minutes, but they dominated the final 75. Germany never looked comfortable. The Wembley Stadium atmosphere, I'm sure, played a big role. 2-0 England went through, including, and this was a lot of people were waiting for, Harry Kane getting off the mark, got his first goal of the tournament. The faith that Gareth Southgate had put into him had paid off, because it was a massively important goal, the second one against Germany, which was the nail in the coffin, essentially. Following that massive win, they were rewarded with a quarterfinal tie with Ukraine. And no disrespect to Ukraine, they did well to reach the last 8, but I think objectively speaking, they were the 8th best side out of the 8 nations remaining, and England did well to not look past it. I think some people thought it might have been a trap game. England did well to stay in the moment. 4-0. They won that match against Ukraine, and Harry Kane grabbed himself a brace. Finally, England looked like England again, with the structured defending, that double pivot in midfield, and their captain, their number 9, their talisman, firing on all cylinders. This was England. They then met a spirited Denmark in the Euro 2020 semifinal, a match that, hand up, guilty as charged. I thought England were going to lose this match. Full transparency. I thought this was a match Denmark were going to win just because of the emotional roller coaster they've been on. It actually is a very, very good side that I think is a bit underrated in terms of the quality in the team, because it really is a very, very good squad that Denmark have. It felt to me like an emotional trap game for England. It felt to me like this was one that Denmark would squeak through 1-0. And actually, to their credit, Denmark did get the first goal through a fantastic Mikkel Damsgaard free kick right at the end of the first half. But England got their equalizer not long after. The match ended up going to extra time, where how do we say this objectively? A controversial penalty call on Raheem Sterling that has a lot of fans split down the middle. It doesn't matter what I think, because the match is over and England are in the final, but I will just say I think the outrage is warranted. I think it is a bit of a soft call, so that's cool. I said I wasn't going to say what I felt, and then I immediately said what I felt. Regardless, England still had to score, and that's what Harry Kane did. His penalty was saved, but his follow-up was scored. England went 2-1 over Denmark, and they set up a date with Italy in the final. So let's take a look at how these teams like to play then, and let's start with Italy. This is an Italian side that like to play, contrary to Italian teams of the past, contrary to that World Cup winning side in 2006, contrary to really any Italian side up until when Roberto Mancini joined in 2018. This is an Italian national team that like to play with the ball. They like to be in possession. They like to be on the front foot. They're 4th in the entire field in touches in the attacking third per 90. That means that when Italy win the ball back, they progress it up the pitch quickly. They like to operate in that final third. And that's not something that we say about Italy often. And it's mainly because of a midfield 3 that is so fluent, so skilled, so balanced, specifically Jorginho and Marco Verratti. We'll talk about Nicola Barella a little bit later, but the two I want to focus on now are Jorginho and Verratti. So Jorginho does get a bit of a bad rap at Chelsea, I think, but with Italy, with this Italian national team, he understands his role so perfectly. It's not one that's overly, complex or difficult. He wins the ball back, and then he starts the moves, whether it be by looking for Barella on the right side or Verratti on the left, or by playing it to one of the fullbacks who are starting to join the attack, or by pinging a ball in behind for Lorenzo Insigne or Domenico Berardi or Ciro Immobile. Jorginho's job is to initiate Italy in possession. He's extremely difficult, or at least he has been at this competition, at being dispossessed. He's very, very strong on the ball. Again, at least he has been at Euro 2020. Dispossessed only 3 times in 6 matches, maybe 5. I'm not sure if he played on match day 3. But regardless, he's very, very strong on the ball. He has been for this Italy side which is important when he's playing in that holding midfield role and you're sending numbers forward. You want somebody who's not going to lose the ball and leave you exposed to the back. And when Jorginho does play the ball forward, it's then Marco Verratti's job to play those line-breaking passes on the left side specifically, to be the one to create the chances, find the space. It's been a mixed bag of results, admittedly, for Verratti, who, it should be remembered, missed the first 2 match days of the group stage due to poor fitness. But regardless, he's creating chances. He's doing what he's supposed to do with this Italian side. For example, he leads all qualified players at Euro 2020 in shot creating actions per 90. He's second in key passes per 90 behind Kevin De Bruyne. He leads this Italy side in goal creating actions per 90. What he's doing, and you can criticize the quality of pass that he's playing. Maybe he's not being as daring or as creative as he is at PSG, but you can't criticize the end product, which is that Verratti is creating for this Italy side. He's doing things that is resulting in progressing the ball and getting looks at goal, and ultimately goals. And that third midfielder, a player who I'm very, very high on, and you can go back and watch my Italy preview to understand just how high I am on Nicolo Barella, but he is the third piece of this midfield, and he's the one who's playing the most advanced. He's the one who's either occupying the right flank or playing in between Ciro Immobile and whoever's playing at right wing, which will likely be Federico Chiesa, but it could at times be Domenico Berardi or Federico Bernardeschi, depending on what Roberto Mancini wants to do. Barella is a player who is going to get into the attacking third and just put more pressure on the opposition's back line. And what that does, especially with fullbacks that attack the pitch, is, yes, it's taking a body out of midfield, but when you've got 2 other midfielders in Jorginho and Marco Verratti, who are both comfortable on the ball, they don't really feel the pressure. Marco Verratti is damn near unpressable, and Jorginho, as we spoke about, is very difficult to dispossess, at least at this tournament. You're comfortable with taking a midfielder out of midfield and applying pressure on the opposition's back line because you're comfortable with the 2 players who you've got left in midfield, especially when your fullbacks are attacking the pitch, and they can kind of help occupy those spaces as well. Also, sometimes Ciro Immobile drops into the half spaces or maybe even deeper into the midfield, so Barella can play in those positions without any significant risk, and we saw just how important that can be, among other instances. But I think the most obvious example is the opening goal against Belgium, where we see Immobile in the penalty area, lose the ball, went down, say what you want about that, but then in comes Nicolo Barella, a late run into the penalty area. The reason why he can make that run is because he's already so high up the pitch. He comes in, takes the ball, finishes into the bottom left, and Italy have their opener against Belgium. They are without one crucial name, though, and that is Leonardo Spinazzola, who, before he got injured against Belgium, was, I think, the best left back at Euro 2020. He just, the way that he was so good defensively, but also the way that he progressed up the pitch and linked with Lorenzo Insigne on the left side gave Insigne a lot more freedom to operate, because Spinazzola was in the attacking third and Insigne was able to kind of occupy the half spaces, maybe drift a bit more centrally. That's my biggest question mark with Italy in this final against England, because Emerson, we saw it against Spain. He attacked the pitch a bit. He linked up with Insigne at certain points in the first half specifically, but not nearly as much and not nearly as effective as Spinazzola was when he was playing left back for this Italian side. Does Emerson's presence, or maybe that's not fair, does Spinazzola's absence limit Insigne's creativity and limit his freedom a little bit? His creative numbers were down against Spain, and you can draw that up to a couple things. It could be that combination play with the left back, or it could just be the fact that Italy had the ball less, so Insigne had less chances to do things that created opportunities. Regardless, I think that makes Emerson's role much more important. I think it also makes Marco Verratti's role much more important, because he's the midfielder who's going to go and play that mezzala role on the left side. So he's another player that will allow Insigne to drift centrally and let him get onto that right foot and just make things happen. You need Lorenzo Insigne's best contributions at this final. Fantastic with the ball at his feet. He's a creative passer, and we've already seen it several times at this competition. Just an absolute missile of a right foot. He has absolutely no range when it comes to shooting on that thing. In a good way, not in a bad way, in a good way. Lorenzo Insigne is a player that you need at his best, and the way you do that is by prioritizing Emerson and Verratti's roles to allow Insigne to roam without leaving that left space completely empty. Now, England are a bit tough to predict admittedly, because we've seen them play in a couple different ways. We've seen them play mostly in a 4-2-3-1, but we've also seen them use 4-3-3 at times. They played in a 3-4-2-1 against Germany, so we don't know what shape they'll play in. But we do know about some certain principles which will absolutely be prevalent when England take the pitch on Sunday, regardless of what shape they're in. The first is the relationship and the partnership between Luke Shaw and Raheem Sterling down that left-hand side. Luke Shaw, I mean, what a season he's had for first Manchester United, and that's been parlayed into a fantastic summer with England at the Euros. Just such a two-way player. He's good defensively, but his biggest contributions will come in the attacking phase of the game, whether it's his overlapping runs or his ability to get in the final third and deliver quality crosses consistently. The way that he links up with Raheem Sterling, because Sterling too is a player that can drop deep and play off of Shaw, or potentially sit deeper and let Shaw occupy the space on the left side further up the pitch, or even pick up the ball deep and just run out a defender. Those two play off of each other very, very well, and we've seen that in terms of goal contributions. Raheem Sterling, 3 goals and an assist. Luke Shaw, 3 assists. So much of England's creativity comes from that left-hand side, and specifically, it comes from those two players. Another thing we're likely to see with this England side is Harry Kane dropping deep, dropping either into the half spaces or into the midfield, picking up the ball and then picking out a pass wide, because that was the biggest knock against Harry Kane in the group stage, and why a lot of people were calling for him to be dropped from the 11, which I think is absolutely insane, but that's not a topic we'll get into now. The reason why he was so out of form, it seemed, in the group stage was because he was sitting up as that traditional number 9. He was not dropping deep. He wasn't doing what he usually does with Spurs, which is drop deep and create and make things happen himself. He was largely sitting on the back shoulders of center backs, waiting for crosses to come in, and those crosses never came. That's changed now that England have entered the knockout phase. We saw it a bit against Germany. We saw it a lot against Ukraine and against Denmark. Harry Kane dropping into the half space, picking up the ball, and playing something wide. And he's been infinitely better because of it, and England has been infinitely better because of it. The fact of the matter is that Harry Kane is England's best player. I don't think that's a particularly bold statement to make, is that Harry Kane is England's best player. If he can't get involved in the more traditional ways of playing as a true striker, getting into the 18-yard box, trying to get on the other end of crosses, he's good enough to get involved in other ways. That's what he's been doing, and I can't imagine we'll see England go away from that when it's been working all knockout stage. We'll also see the same midfield pairing of Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips. That will not change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't effing fix it. This pivot in midfield, specifically out of possession, but also to an extent in possession as well, has been so good. It's been so crisp defensively. They're nearly impossible to break through, not just that pivot, but the side as a whole. They've conceded once in 6 matches, and it was that Damsgaard set piece. They haven't conceded once from open play yet, and it's largely because of Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips, just two very physical engines. Both play in defensive midfield for their clubs. Declan Rice for West Ham, Calvin Phillips for Leeds, and they play off each other so well, and they're so difficult to break down and to break through. But even in possession, we'll see Declan Rice play an important role. He'll drop in between the center backs and allow Luke Shaw and Kyle Walker to advance up the pitch. We'll see Calvin Phillips try to play some passes in midfield. He's a player who, if he has the space and the time, he can deliver a good ball anywhere on the pitch for the most part. Or even if he's not, Rice's presence in that back line allows the fullbacks, to get up the pitch, create overloads on the flanks, which again is where England are the most creative. And it allows their direct wingers, namely Raheem Sterling and Bukayo Saka, if he plays, or Jadon Sancho, players who like to run at fullbacks, to do that and to find success doing that. So that Declan Rice, Calvin Phillips pivot in midfield, they're not going to score goals, they're not going to get assists, but their roles are so important. When I did my England preview video, I mentioned that Declan Rice is, I think, England's most important player. Maybe that was a bit reactionary, but he's certainly one of the most important players in this England side, just because of the way he lets everybody else play to their strengths. So who do I think has to be on their best form for this cup final. I've got one player for each side. We'll start with Italy again. My key man for Italy, I think it absolutely has to be Marco Verratti in midfield. As I said, England are an extremely difficult side to break down. It comes with that back four, but also that double pivot. We could see them go back to that 7 at the back shape that they used against Germany with the 3 center backs, 2 wing backs, and then Rice and Phillips in midfield. They're difficult to break down. They're so tough to penetrate and to create consistent chances against. So England will need that midfielder whose role is to play the line-breaking passes and unlock the defense and find players where they shouldn't be found. They need that guy to be playing well and to be clicking. And again, Marco Verratti is somebody who statistically has been very, very good this tournament. We know that when you watch Marco Verratti play, there's been a mixed bag of results, namely again against Spain in the semifinal. But he's gonna need to have it against England. Italy will not win this match if Marco Verratti is not playing well. A player who can find the space, break the press is another big thing that Marco Verratti does. He can beat the press very, very well. And also, as we mentioned, not Insigne. Well, yes, Insigne. Insigne will thrive if Marco Verratti is playing well, because Verratti will go and occupy that left half space and let Insigne roam a bit more. And again, as we've seen in the group stage and in the first 2 rounds of the knockout phase, Lorenzo Insigne and Italy are at their best when he gets to free roam and when somebody can go and occupy that space. That has to be Marco Verratti. I don't trust Emerson in that role. I would have loved to be talking about Leonardo Spinazzola playing that role. We know that's not the case. It's Emerson now. I think it's got to be Verratti to be the one to unlock Insigne's freedom and creativity to roam by going and playing in those spaces. For England, I think there's only one answer, and it's a player who I've already mentioned a couple times, but I think it has to be Harry Kane. And you know, there is a simple reason and a more complex reason why I've gone for Harry Kane. I think the simple reason is we've seen the way this England side has gotten better as the tournament has progressed. They were decent at best in the group stage. They left a lot to be desired in Group D, and so did Harry Kane. And then once Harry Kane finds his form and starts getting a bit more involved and starts scoring and starts creating a bit more, now we're talking about England as a side that have hardly had to break a sweat in the knockout stage, except for maybe against Denmark. So I think Harry Kane is the key player for England, without a doubt, because like I said, he is their best player. He is someone who can finish off any chance. He wears the captain's armband. But even when he's not doing that, he can also be their most creative player, depending on who Gareth Southgate chooses to play in midfield. If he chooses to go to that 7 at the back and drops out both Mason Mount and Jack Grealish, that puts the creative burden even more on Harry Kane to drop deep and make some things happen. Now that Harry Kane is as involved as he should be with this England strategy and these England tactics, we're seeing England really pick up steam and find their footing at the absolute best time. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think the key man for England has to be the man wearing the captain's armband. Before I get to my projected result, my very expertly based projected result, let's talk about one of the key matchups. This is a matchup that I'm going to be so fascinated to watch, and it's going to come down to, I think, the way this match goes is going to come down to Italy's fullbacks versus England's wide players. It's very simple. It's who can win the one-on-one battles, because England have some very direct wingers. Raheem Sterling, we know, is going to play in this match. We could also see, as I mentioned, Bukayo Saka or Jadon Sancho play on the right side. All three of them love to run at defenders and give them nightmares. If they can do that, if they can run at Giovanni Di Lorenzo and Emerson and consistently beat them and find space down by the end line and consistently put good crosses in, the likes of Raheem Sterling, well, not so much Raheem Sterling, but Luke Shaw, Kyle Walker, Bukayo Saka, they've got Harry Kane waiting in the middle to get on the other end of them. If they can't, if Italy are the ones that are more consistently winning those one-on-one duels on the flanks, it's going to force England to do some things differently. It nullifies the parts of the pitch that England are most creative and dangerous. So what do they do then? Do they commit more numbers forward and potentially make themselves a bit more vulnerable on the counterattack? Do we see Calvin Phillips or Declan Rice has to have a more involved role on the creative side of things, which is certainly something that Italy would love to have happen, is force the ball to the feet of Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips and make them create chances through those central channels. It's going to be, I think this final is going to be won and lost based on that matchup. Because again, that's where England like to create their chances, but Italy have some damn good defenders in those roles. There was a point in this tournament for this Italian side before they conceded that extra time goal to Austria in the round of 16. This Italian side had gone over 1,000 minutes without conceding a goal across the group phase and friendlies and World Cup qualifying. Over 1,000 minutes without allowing the ball past Gianluigi Donnarumma, which is a fantastic record. We talk a lot about England's defense and how consistent they've been at this tournament. Italy's defense has been just as good. So if they can disrupt and nullify the way that England like to create most of their chances, we're in for a really, really intriguing tactical battle. All right, let's get to it. Who do I have raising the trophy? These are two sides that I am absolutely in love with. If you watch London's Finest, you know that I'm obsessed with Italy. If you just know me in general, you know that I'm really, really high on this England squad as well. So this is tough for me. I think you can make the argument certainly that England have looked better in the knockout stage. I don't think that would be a particularly bold statement, although you can certainly say that Italy's road has been far more difficult against a sneaky side in Austria and then Belgium and Spain, both of which are very good nations. But I think you can also say that Italy play, even though England may be in better form, Italy play the type of football that you need to play to beat a side that defends the way England do, if that makes sense. England are very difficult to break down, but Italy play the style of football that you need to play in order to break England down. And that includes moving the ball quickly, quick passing, quick 1-2 passing. They got a midfield that excels at that. Movement off the ball, again, that's something that the midfield excels in. That's something that Ciro Immobile loves to do. He loves to make runs in behind. Lorenzo Insigne, another player who fits that mold. They like to overload the flanks. They like to create 2v1s specifically on the left side of the pitch with, at the time, Spinazzola, but now either Verratti or Emerson along with Insigne on that left side, where if England are going to attack with their fullbacks, maybe there's some space to be exposed over there. A side that doesn't just consistently whip in crosses because England have a height advantage at the back, but also Immobile is not a striker who excels overly in the air anyway. So if you watch Italy and the way they've created their goals at this competition, not many of them have come from crosses in from wide. A lot of them have come from either moves on the counter or moves through the central channels. They play the way you need to play to beat a side that defends the way England defends. Now, I think it's also very likely that we see Italy's fullbacks get caught out a time or two because, again, when Italy are in possession, when they've got sustained possession, those fullbacks are creeping up the pitch, and you're leaving your two 35-year-old center backs with a Jorginho who is a defensive midfielder, but whose best attribute is his passing ability. That's who you're leaving back. And so I think there's a chance that we may see Italy's fullbacks get caught out a time or two, especially with England's pacey, direct wingers just consistently looking to exploit space and get in behind and just put on the afterburners and get past people. I think because of that, we're going to see Italy have to defend a little bit deeper. And that was something that I mentioned in my preview of them. I think this is a side that, against just naturally more talented opposition, is going to have to defend a little bit deeper just to protect their aging center backs a bit. Chiellini and Bonucci are no spring chickens. Yeah, they're 35. At times they look like they're 25, but they are 35 years old, and they don't have that same recovery pace that they once did. And so if they get beat on the counter, it could be up to Donnarumma, and that's it. So I think we will see Italy defend a little bit deeper. I think we're going to see goals. I don't think this is going to end 0-0 on penalties or 1-0. It's so tough because it could go both ways. It really, really could. I think what I have written down and what I'm going to stick with is I've just been more thoroughly impressed, start to finish, by Italy this summer, just with how good they were in the group stage, and then just the way that they've gone through a very difficult knockout stage path with Austria, who I was high on, and then Belgium was the world number one at the time. and Italy beat them pretty handedly. And then Spain were, I mean, say what you want, Spain were Euro 2020 semifinalists. And Italy found a way to win, which is big. Italy found a way to win in circumstances that they were not overly comfortable in. I do have question marks, admittedly, about England and can they consistently create chances. Their chance creation numbers are not just low; they're near the bottom of the entire field. Their per 90s are on pace with like in terms of like key passes, pass into the final third, progressive movements, shot and goal creating actions. They're on par in terms of on a per 90 basis with North Macedonia and Scotland and Ukraine. It's been really statistically abysmal. And I know you can't look too much into the stats of things, but that does concern me a bit against a side in Italy who, will without a doubt be the best side they play. Maybe Germany, but I would back this Italy side to be better than Germany, at least this summer. So I am a bit concerned with Italy. Can they consistently create chances? And I've just been more impressed with Italy. 2-1 to Italy is my final score. And just because there's a chance of generating some extra clout, I'll go Barella to score, and I'll go Chiesa to score. Nicolo Barella and Federico Chiesa to score for Italy. And then why not Harry Kane to score for England to get a share of that Euro 2020 Golden Boot. Silence the haters. Y'all thought he should have been benched for the round of 16 tie. He only went and finished as one of the top scorers in the competition. So that's my prediction. Italy 2, England 1. Italy win their first major tournament since that World Cup on German soil in 2006. But I do want to know what you all think. Obviously, this is a match that the world will have their television sets turned to. So let me know in the comments if you think I'm right, if you think I'm wrong, how you see this match playing out. I want to hear from all you guys. I want to hear what you think and how you think this match will go. If you liked what you saw, please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and click that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. I don't know how long this video is. I don't know how long it will end up being. I've been filming for 1 hour and 6 minutes. Apologies if this thing was like 40 minutes long. I don't think it will be, but a lot of things I wanted to say about this match because it's two sides that I'm in love with. If you stay till the end, you're a trooper. I'll say that. If you stay till the very end, you're a trooper. Also, follow me on Twitter at WillFowler5. Follow London's Finest on Twitter at London's Finest QU. London's Finest is the show that me and two of my buddies do every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. in the UK, where we hop on a Zoom call to talk about the biggest storylines in the sport, in the world of football. Always a good time. Again, at London's Finest QU. I will link both of those things in the description below. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.